Get this show on the road. Says we're live, so now it's time for me to read out the following as he scrolls back up to find it. You are listening to Let's Go JoJo, the weekly JoJo's Bizarre Adventure podcast about weekly anime from Dynamite in the Brain and Secret of the Sailor Madness. So come along and hang with the Let's Go gang. It's Dwayne.
Hello.
It's Niall.
How are you?
And it's me, Brian, who stumbled over his words because he suddenly realised his mouth was drying up as he was reading that out. This week, we are covering a single anime that aired the week of the 26th to the 30th of September, but 5 other episodes of things which came out on Netflix weeks ago. Starting with the show that gave this show its name, it's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 6, Stone Ocean, Episode 17, Enter the Dragon, or Enter the Drake, I think it's called on Netflix.
Yeah, if I was on the ball, I could have made a comparison of to the dry mouth, to the dry spell, soon to be hit by a torrential flood, you know. But yeah,
It's just fucking real because okay, we can't like do the thing with like the stands. We got a different name. Episode Enter the Dragon. Oh shit! Now we're in trouble. God, we'll go backwards. Go backwards.
In which we have to fight a master of, I never know how to correctly pronounce it, Feng Shui.
Feng Shui.
Feng Shui. Yeah.
See, yeah, they're not doing a hard H in
the Japanese pronunciation.
Yeah. And Anasui isn't saying like a hard H, but I'm just like, is he saying it right or am I been saying it wrong?
That's exactly that is always my concern. Anyway, he's a master of that, but for assassinations, because he has. I assume his stand power is what he's developed himself, as opposed. It's implied when we get his flashback that kept him alive.
Yeah, because he's been in prison for like 40 years.
Yeah.
He was a cult leader. It was a typical, we'll go all fucking like ascend to heaven, get in the temple, and drink this, and then I think they also drank poison and they also burned it down. So it's like that double cult suicide going on there.
He's trying to combine different cults suicide into one big fucking one, trying to really make a name for himself. But unfortunately for him, a piece of masonry landed on him, saving his life from the fire. And that means he could go to prison for 40 years for his crime. I mean, like, he's actually in prison for like 200 and something years. So,
yes.
Yeah. Because initially I was thinking, they probably let him, like, why didn't they give him the death penalty? Probably because he's an old man. I was like, no, he got put in prison 40 years ago when he was a much younger man. So I was like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And because he's a feng shui utilizer and a cult leader, of course he drinks his own piss.
Yes. He would like to tell you about it, but fortunately everyone interrupts him anytime he tries to start talking about them.
See how I can do this? Oh yeah, check that out. Just like one.
I was thinking Niall can do that. That's not that impressive. No offense.
Oh yeah. Well, I do drink a lot, but that's not piss.
So
that's a piss a day.
Jolene is left after the last fight, pondering who else might have a stand power, and then suddenly realizes that most of the other prisoners around her have been drowned, and there are only 2 men left standing.
Their bloated corpses are lying on the floor, leaking water. It's like, that's a drowning. And there's a weird old little goblin man and a guy wearing a freaking gladiator helmet. So it's like, it's probably one of those 2 guys.
Yes. And she's like, I know there's another power which is making us people aggressive when they stand in the water.
Yeah.
How many are there? Well, luckily, the Yoda-looking man, Kenzo, comes straight out and says, "There's 4 of us. 4 of us been sent by White Snake to kill you. And now I'm going to fight you." And then FF jumps in the way, protects Jolene, and Anasui shows up and explains that this is a moronic old man who drinks his own piss, and he used to be a cult leader.
I did appreciate him showing up to not only confuse the fuck out of Jolene saying, "I love you," but and her kind of going like, "Sorry, I just barely remembered your name because we met like once and you didn't say anything at the time. Also, you're going to explain this guy's backstory as a cult leader and also feng shui to me. That's what you're here for to do?" Yeah,
thank you. That's very helpful. That's very informative. Will anybody tend to my wounds? But anybody not. But Jolene, I'll be right there. I was going to shoot this old man, and I'll be there to take.
Yes. He
But he
also
keeps
points out,
calling out
yeah,
coordinates. So
yeah, that's the
it's
thing that Nancy points out is, yes, he's going around drowning people, but he explains how he drowns people, and that is not caused by his stand. It's like the
no.
more interesting thing is how he dodges the bullets that FF is firing at him.
It's a very Backy the Grappler type situation where he's like, well, if I shove my whole arm down your throat, I only need like a very slightly damp hand to make you drown in your own fucking lungs, because your
Oh,
lungs will be mostly filled with my arm, kind of
You
thing.
drown in your own adrenaline because of the
Exactly, because he hits your adrenal
the
gland.
the
It fills you up.
particular yes, the particular piece of your spinal column he hits.
But those corpses were like bloated, like, you know, they'd been at sea for days, kind of thing.
Well, like, no, hang on to that now as well, because hypnotic suggestion, or touching, or hitting the fucking like Hokuto no Shinken pressure point to cause a certain effect happen, that's going to come up later. So they're just seeding that now, that you can actually, you know, if a person believes something, you know, if they believe in their last dying moments in their brain, I'm drowning, I'm going to come up with all close to, but that's actually kind of manifest like the properties of a bloated drowned corpse.
What's the name of the little old man? He's another
Kenzo.
Kenzo. He's another fashion designing brand. But I was like, that voice is so familiar. Who is it? And he's played by another little man who's going to be coming soon. It's Kaseki, isn't it? From Dr. Stone.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
And I was just like, that's why he's so familiar. I mean, like, this is a little goblin man as opposed to a little dwarf man, which is a little different. But, you know, wrong fantasy race, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, he'll cover the whole spectrum now with everything, all these like fucking otherworld fantasy things. He's probably crop up as a little, you know, hobbit or something. Matter of time.
And his stand is not the thing involving drowning. It is the CG dragon dividing disc that he summons, called Dragon's Dream, named after apparently Roger Dean, the prog rock cover artist and poster artists company.
Initially, I was like, wait, how old are Imagine Dragons? Is that what they're going with now? Because I saw the name written down before I heard it said out loud. And I was
something like marginally cooler than that. Let's give Araki some credit here.
Yeah, I assume for many anime and manga artists of a certain age that Roger Dean is a big influence on them. So not surprising.
That's where fucking Dean Venture got his first name from. There's no coincidence, son. You get the sense as well, this is a stand he's had for a long time, and he's
had a lot of practice.
Because it's a kind of stand that's sassy. It talks back to you. It's got its own personality, and I love those ones. Haven't seen one
its stats are all utter fucking ass, except for precision or something like that, which it's like an A. It's one of the like, but that's not a good stat in its own. It's like, yeah, because it's a compass. It's good. But it is manifesting. Oh God, it's manifesting FF's. So it's FF's version of I'll point out FF's weak point. So it's technically his stand pointing out her dragon of weakness or something like that.
It's not necessarily like no fun. Go bits in the flow of the room, you know, it isn't necessarily kind of a weak point. It's just like you don't want to stand here.
This is your bad luck
in the next 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Because like a rat's going to scurry around, it's going to frighten some pigeons, and going to let you kind of like flutter past like the bit of like broken like steel girder in the sea. That's going to fall into the whole like
fan system,
fan or something that full flush out. That's why not there. So if you're standing there, so it's kind of like trying to get you in a position to either punch you and kill you, or have some kind of environment kill.
Yeah, it points out like a very Rube Goldberg-esque like thing that's going to completely fuck you up. Like, this is the worst possible position for you. But the thing I love about it is it's voiced by another old guy who is very sassy and also is really annoyed. It's like, I'm supposed to be impartial. I'm just fucking like, I'm just a fortune telling guy. It's really pissing me off that you don't tell her how your fucking power works. I'm gonna fucking tell her how your power works. He's like, no, shut up, dragon. So it's two old men arguing. Well, one is a puppet dragon, because his mouth just opens and closes like a puppet. It's fantastic.
Yes, and the voice of the dragon is Cho, who you may know as the voice of Brooke on One Piece.
It's great stuff.
And I think before then, people knew him as is he the principal of he's the vice principal in GTO. I think that was the role people previously knew him as, the guy who's constantly on the verge of a heart attack and exploding in anger. Yeah, it's quite fun that, yeah, so his power obviously doesn't work on FF straight away because FF is an animated corpse.
See, it keeps going like, now I have you. And I was like, besides the initial thing of nearly drying them out, because they're actually referring to FF as them now, which is technically true. They're a group of plankton.
Yeah, Legion.
Yeah. But you can't really kill them without like just drying up all the water that they live in, I suppose. Yeah. It's an odd one.
It
Well,
is.
You gotta keep it in something though. So if you keep blowing that away.
There's FF still using a human body, which can be damaged very obviously at several times in this one. But they can also like she does a thing of like squeezing backwards through a set of bars to get away from him. At one point he's like,
that was cool. I found like T1000 stuff there. Like,
yeah, just smushing herself.
But yeah, so go back and forth, but eventually he points out the unlucky area on FF's body, and you think the fan that's about to fall on her is going to be the thing which causes the damage, but no, it's a L frame piece of metal
bracket. Yeah.
It was actually the boomerang that was the problem, points out the
Yes.
dragon, and she gets like scalped essentially.
Yes,
It's just that the way it kind of popped off, like the lid is open at her skull.
Yeah. Oh, like your man in Brain Dead. Was it Brain Dead? The Peter Jackson film.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
flip top head.
Yeah.
The dude in Jujutsu Kaisen, like, oh, check it out, new brain. What's her brain?
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's a weird fight. There's also a thing where he can jam his hand in the dragon's mouth and pull off his own arm without injuring himself, and also do that to FF, and the hand will damage you or something. It's weird. I don't understand that part at all. I assume that'll be explained later.
Yeah, and they also point out that even though he does this, it still is like being punched by an old man.
Yeah.
So it doesn't hurt that bad.
Like he is a super martial artist, but again, like plankton inhabiting a corpse, it's kind of difficult to punch that very hard enough to stop it. Yeah.
Yes, this old rivalry will finally be settled today.
But yeah, he has figured out that there's something running in FF's blood is the reason. So I assume he's going to try and use that against FF when they seemingly recover from having the top of their skull taken off.
I'm not sure if that was him figuring out like using my martial arts prowess. I figured out that you have something extra streaming through your blood veins and that kind of thing, or was that the power that you seem to get from the thing that makes you really mad and want to fight people? Because that seems
Survivor.
to be Survivor. It seems to be a thing like Survivor gives you. You can read other people's body to know where they're most powerful and get you excited about fighting them. Basically, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, this is a 2-part story. We'll be back next week. See how FF survived and whether Annecy is going to do anything apart from stand.
Oh no, she's got this.
Act like a
Maybe.
speedwagon.
I think he technically has to help if he wants his proposal, inverted commas, to Jolene to go off, because he does have to help in some regard for it to count.
So Enter the Dragon's Dream was this episode. Next week is Enter the Foo Fighters.
Okay.
So I think in the comic, it's like, it goes Enter the Dragon's Dream for 5 chapters. Then it goes to Enter the Foo Fighters. Then it goes back to Enter the Dragon's Dream.
It's a bit of back and forth then. Okay.
So that is that taken care of. And now let's knuckle down for 4 episodes of Cyberpunk Edgerunners in a row.
Yes.
Because I realised we could just move Dragon Quest to next week's episode when we restart from going from Saturday to Friday. I think we moved the start date because we always wanted to be like closer to a JoJo's whenever it changed airing day or something.
Yeah, and I mean, like when we initially started, we used to watch it on the Friday it was out, and then podcast immediately about it afterwards. Yeah,
and obviously that's not an issue now. We're doing it after the fact.
It is. This for ease of fucking discussion here. Let's have it all this as a whole rather than do like the one by one.
These are episodes 3 to 6: Smooth Criminal, Lucky You, All Eyes on Me, and Girl on Fire, in which tells a complete story as David gets taken into the gang run by an ex-military solo called Maine, and we they go on like their first mission in 3, which is where they're trying to steal some data from a car. 4 is their David wants to be trained, so that gives it gives you a chance to meet all the members of the gang.
And for like his various interactions with them, how they treat him, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. All Eyes on Me is he gets kidnapped by the guy they're trying to convince to help them
the snuff filmmaker
ambush an Arasaka guy. And then eventually they convince him to help them and they kidnap the Arasaka guy. And then episode 6 is where they've kidnapped the Arasaka guy. They try to hack into his brain and everything falls apart. See,
you say that, but like in episode 3, the mission goes awry immediately and they have to improvise on the fly. Episode 4, one of the gang members is immediately fucking killed. I'm just like, oh, everything's going wrong. Like in every episode, it is one complete story, but it is like, this is not a good fucking life. And
it's just kind of fucking the awful thing of it. Fun, like he's just after that last effort, he's falling back in or something like that. And it's fun coming gray state in with it. He's got him like a sweet chickie who seems pretty keen on him as well, so that's pretty good. But it's as well like, you know, you get a real I think it's pretty hitting fucking David, that's the reality and how cheap like human life is on these streets. Because like, no, while the gangs, you know, getting kind of whittled down, like, you know, the lose of one Peter, the long leg man tribe with the fucking thing like that. And you know, they're pissed off and they avenge him like immediately because there's some like cyber psycho like homeless dude who was fun.
It's nothing to do with like the mission. They're just walking home from a night on the town. Like they were just out drinking and they're just going home and he's just hassling some. Like I think it's a bad idea to hassle anyone on the street for being weird in this world. It's just like that's not a good idea. Yeah.
But like, you know, like they're like affected by it, but they seem to also get past it like pretty quick. And David is not like, you know, it's just like that. That's just like fucking. That's just what can happen to you. You just fucking go along one day and it's a homeless dude. It's just like actually just fucking kitted out and he just kills you suddenly.
But the way it opens with episode 3, Smooth Criminal, Hayne kind of goes straight away from it. It's just like, I'm gonna fucking rip your spine out and implant it in myself. And it's just like, oh wait, you're my hookups kid who would get me like these cool implants. Well, now I feel bad about the whole situation. I'm gonna take you under my wing, and nothing will possibly ever go wrong with that. That'll go fine, I'm sure. I'm just waiting for everything to go to shit in the show constantly, and it does constantly. So yeah.
Does he refer to Gloria as G? I kind of wanted to refer to Gloria as G because then you'd have D, G, and V in the video game, which suggests that depending on whether which version of V you pick, you might be called Vavid or Vloria. But there are so many locations, and I think characters as well from the game in these 4 episodes. It's I think like when they go to when in that 3rd episode when they track down the guy at the fighting arena. That's a place you have a fight, and I think you fight the same woman who gets stabbed through the chin.
Okay. So that's what happens to her.
Yes. Well, unless you did something similar to her in the game.
That's true.
Yeah. So there's so many locations, and I was trying to remember whether the what do they call it? The brain dance artist, the brain dance director is in there as well. Because I seem to remember there was somebody with a gold nose, but I guess that might have just been a recurring thing anyway. Looking at here, it looks like there's 4 characters from. Maybe there's plenty here on the.
There was a guy who was like I think he was like some sort of doctor character with a beard, and he hasn't been in the show before, but they were naming him as if he has. So I was like, is he from the games? I wasn't sure.
The taxis from the games, the thing the Arasaka guy takes to go to the brain dance location.
The taxi that wipes your your
Yeah.
travel history. Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's like the most expensive taxi you can buy because you could like pay extra for it to gun down people if you're being attacked.
Nice. Yeah,
Of
those
course,
locations too are really really kind of well realized, and I do like how it is go like it does seem to kind of go back over like certain routes of things. I suppose it's kind of like
Yes. Yeah.
even kind of routes of things you'd be doing maybe in the game itself. You could be just like it's like any game of guys, you have your landmarks up and saying, oh yeah, just kind of orientate yourself around that. And
I felt like how bad David was at driving was also a reference to the game of him constantly ramming
Yeah.
into things. Felt very much like my experience of driving in the game.
Like, yeah, I've heard the driving in it is utter fucking trash. But I did appreciate how well that car is animated, just flipping the fuck around like it's glitching down the road. I was just like, that's actually very funny. It was a good, crazy, wild ride scene.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good story. I like that episode 4 where they introduce all the characters and then kill one of them off by the end. Was fun. It also feels like they're getting to be a lot gorier than they would be allowed to be on Japanese TV.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
there's like a streak of it. Like if you've seen some of my things, you might think, oh, this is kind of where he is, but this is like something like sex and violence and Mach Speed. It's like, oh, he has those fucking things he's had to just fun let out sometimes, and this is like a nice little like outlet for it, I think. Definitely. That's what makes like great animation too. Like there's necessary kind of resources in that. It's just like level of influence and experience and just pure enthusiasm. So if you just like what level of freedom do I have to just unleash everything onto the screen, it's like plenty. It's like grand. And
but you know the way like it was giving me like definitely from the hyper violence, like your OVA from back in the 80s 90s kind of vibes as well, just the sheer level of blood it manages to get away with. But the other kind of thing I was thinking was, you know the way people like watched all of this in like one fucking day or weekend or whatever. After watching these 4 episodes, I was like, right, I need to go for a fucking walk. I need to take a little break. It was like watching, I was watching 4 of them in a row. It wasn't quite as bad as Devilman Crybaby, but it's like when I watch an episode of that and I was like, right, I need to step the fuck away from the screen for a little minute and just have a think about things and stare out a window or something.
Yeah.
And with like David and Lucy, they're like the anime protagonists. It's just like it's like, come on, okay, one day I'm really fun scared about doing this hack because our hacker got one backhanded when Mayhem was having a cyber psycho moment. So I gotta go in there, but it's gonna be fun, really tough. Just tell me I can do it, but saying you can do it, I believe in you. And then that goes to fucking shit, and then it's like he's gonna run back and try and rescue Maine because they're getting the cops on him. It's just like, okay, Lucy, come on, just tell me I can do this. I can do this. You can do it, David. And he goes back and just, no, you can't do it. It's just like sometimes you're just fucked, and he wants to be like a good lad and be a straight up dude, but yeah, sometimes you are just fucked and you can't just
Yeah.
That's really hitting him really fucking hard and crushing his fucking view,
There was loads of great bits of because obviously the gang itself, but like the ancillary characters, like the snuff film director guy, who initially is very like standoffish, like, ooh, he's a threat, but then he's like, oh, you've seen my work, while he's like forcing him to watch his work, and it's just like, well, I mean, like, it's great to have be working with a fan. And then later on, he's like, haha, I've got you guys dead to rights, and he's like, all right, you got me, I'll totally work with you. And him getting to talk to David and the whole, like, it's just like either you die or you go crazy and you get fucking killed. Like, these are the 2 options. And when he inevitably gets killed, he kind of smiles at David's like, fucking told you so. And I really appreciated the corporal guy kind of having a moment of like humanity where he kind of like, hey, you're fucking David. I know you. Like, I actually reinstated you in school.
That's the thing. I think this entire thing was a setup to get that guy in front of David.
I think I don't know if the corporate guy knows that, but
no, I don't think he knows
of like,
it.
I don't want to die. Listen, I can get you out of this alive, dude. Like, what do you want to do with your life? You want to hang out with these fucking gangsters? I can get you a decent fucking corporal job. It's fine. We'll send you back to school. Like, he's like, please, I don't want to die, and I will actually help you get out of this gang fucking life and shit. Like, I think like you say, I think he's been manipulated by fucking higher strings, but he believes that it's just like, Yeah, okay, I was manipulated a teenager to have this military weapon, but you know, maybe I should concentrate on living right now. You know, maybe I could help him out because
Well,
he feels he's
we
about
know
to get killed. Yeah.
we know he's a valuable asset because he can take on cybernetics without much rejection at all.
Yeah.
And that's sort of why he's. I think that's something that he's afraid of as well because besides he has like the fucking speed boost spine, but he also is like, oh man, I'm out fucking doing a jogging and I'm just getting fucking killed. Like, so he gets some like artificial lungs fitted in instead. Fun saying, yeah, man, you want one big arms like yours, man. And one, you couldn't handle this, kid. Forget about that. Yeah. But then I think he's like getting this fun tinges there of fucking losing his own humanity the more he kind of puts it in because like again but in a kind of fit of fucking rage he's on the dude who killed Pilar and he's just he fun shoots him. No fun I saying earlier on, I won't need the gun, I don't want to use it, but one does it and he's seeing what's happening to me and he's just like flipping out. He's just having fucking this complete like disassociative moments where he thinks he's just like, remembering one back from like years ago. I love how like you're just getting this like very vague sense of Maine's background there, but
and when he's depicted as like a younger man, he looks like he's a lot, obviously not gigantically bulky, and he looks a lot like David, and I think that's why you can see that's why he took a cotton to him, because it was kind of like he reminds me of me when I was before I got really fucking filled with robot parts. But that's a thing from the not from the video game, but from the original RPG, isn't it, Brian? The more cybernetic implants you get, the more you're likely to lose your humanity. That kind of thing.
The video game, which appears to be what's implemented here, it seems to be specifically experimental stuff or military stuff sent to people over.
Right.
Which is the implication with Maine, is that
too much military gear.
It's probably not even the cybernetics which is causing it. It's probably the cybernetics combined with damage to his nervous system from whatever wars he's been in or military action he's been in, and PTSD.
But I mean, like, if you put a gun in your arm, like, you're probably going to get into a bunch of fights, which means you're going to have a bunch of physical and mental trauma, which ain't going to help. Yeah.
But no, in the video game, there's these cyber psychos who are trying to bring in alive because the person you're working for wants to gather evidence as to find safe cures, but also to figure out why it's happening. And the evidence you always find is like, oh, it was a skill chip for agricultural farming, which was experimental or something like that. It sort of generally is either misuse of tech, either by the person themselves or by some sort of sponsor, rather than the old one, which was like every time you put in a piece of cybernetics, you had to roll a different dice value depending on what it was, and that would erode away your empathy points or whatever, your humanity points, which was your empathy times 10. So you'd roll up a character who very much could see the point of view of other human beings, and in order to load them up with cybernetics to erode that away. It was like, it was a very weird system where it turned out like, yes, the most empathic people in the world would then choose to load their bodies up with cybernetics to turn them into killing machines, because that was how the system worked.
Well, I got a bunch of mechanics in the game to because I'm such a nice guy to stick a fucking sword in my arm. It works out.
Yeah. Even you get a kind of feel for how Lucy feels about it too, because she's a haircut like that. She has a little fucking USB port, but she actually has like an even bigger like fucking like fucking
deep dive dock
towards the back. But she also keeps it covered up because she's obviously some subconscious about it, or something she did not want to have in, and that probably goes back to what you're saying about it. When she wants to go to the moon as possibly as from the moon, because that's something that she's only said to David, not the rest of the gang. And
because I mean, like she's capable of doing the same job as Kiwi, but she kind of doesn't want to until she's kind of backed into doing it. Yeah.
When Arasaka gets mentioned, we like get brief flashes of scenes from her memories that we're not privy to what the deal is with that yet. So there's some innate fear of Arasaka she's got more than everybody else.
Yeah, and when we see David's file in there, it would be understandable. He'd have that in his brain, but what was it filed alongside? Because it flashes through a lot of stuff before it gets to him.
Yeah, she probably has more information on his involvement in it than he does, or maybe she's disturbed by the fact that he's involved in it. And is like, is this a trap for her? But she might be thinking that kind of thing.
Yeah, so by the end of these episodes, we've lost. So Main's dead, Pilar's dead. His little sister's still alive, who only just because they have to stop her from getting killed by the cyber psycho as well. And she's annoyed because she wanted to kill her big brother and not let anybody else do it. Falco has quit. He just quits and leaves. Is Kiwi dead or is she just out? So
in the hospital.
Kiwi's hospitalized.
Hospitalized.
Because like Maine took the front of her mechanical face off, basically.
Yes, yeah.
Probably not
it's
great.
That bit from the trailer.
Dorio's dead. Dorio's dead.
Yeah. And it was fun, lie, you're pretty cool, you know. Fun. It's like, I'm giving to like you. Oh, don't make me like you. Oh, you're all dead.
As soon as I saw Maine, it's like, oh, big, strong, punchy guy. That's my favorite kind of character. The kind that always gets killed off. I was like, hooray.
It's okay. We got a big, strong, punchy woman. It's like, oh, she's gone too.
As soon as I saw her like next to him, I was like, oh, no, she's fucked as well. I also enjoy big, strong, punchy woman. And it's like, no luck for me. They're not the main characters. They're there to point out that, hey, David, this whole shit is fucked. It's super fun.
You just have to play the video game.
Not only is your mum dead, your surrogate gun parents are dead as well.
Because he was constantly like, it's just like, hey, so are you treating her right? It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, you know, did you do the deed? And he's like, no, it's not like that. And he's like, dude, I have fucking eyes, right? And then later on, it's like, you did it, didn't you? You know, he's being his mate and his dad. And there's several points where he's like, David, back down. You know, he's like, oh, you got to look out for yourself, kid. But he's constantly looking out for him up until he loses control himself. Like, and even then, he's still trying to look out for him. It's like, David, you can still run the fuck away. I can't.
So we're also introduced in these episodes to their fixer, the guy who keeps on hiring them, Faraday. And as soon as he shows up, I was like, oh, I bet that's the character Giancarlo Esposito is voicing in the dub. And indeed it is, yes. He's a fixer who they think is working for Militech, Arasaka's big military industrial complex rival, both in this and the video game and the role-playing game.
How is the dub actually? I haven't listened to it.
I have not listened to it either. Yes.
See, I'd be curious to because I like the visual of it when they're getting like phone calls or they're having like a phone call in their head without speaking out loud. But the subtitles moving from there to different parts of the screen is just like, where am I reading?
There can be a chance, but I sort of like that because there's so many you know, you're trying to call them on the codec and they aren't picking up, you know, because so there's like lots of this kind of fun chilling out in the car. Waiting for you see the eyes are going that's the other what good about this as well. There is they're kind of confident enough that kind of video game goes for and the video game and it goes for all in for those. Remember all this we take the word cyberpunk, all those things are all in there. So you have encountered some versions, some kind of beauty kind of even was a parody of this idea multiple times before. We don't feel the need to say explain every goddamn thing. You see someone hacking in using certain terminology or lingo or fucking copy people tunes and gonks and stuff. You can't pick up what that means. This is the kind of the near future. Language has evolved, you know. Fucking like
No one has to make the joke. It's like, dude, why don't you pick up your phone? I know it's built into your brain because everyone knows that their phone is built into their brain. No one needs to fucking say it. Like, and it's confident enough in its audience to go like, I can pick up what they're laying down. Yeah,
like brain dance, you know, it's very self-explanatory. It's like, you know, it's like to invert VR. Okay, I get that. You know, it's doesn't have to fucking I can stop every fucking couple of minutes to run over this new thing. It just kind of rolls with it. And they kind of do it sometimes because a lot of their jobs involve similar things. We're hacking into things and we're shooting people like that over fucking dealing with our own kind of conditions, and to kind of do that on a regular kind of routine, and you start to pick up, it's by observing habits and the way you talk about things, you can kind of decipher what's in there. It's like, Just let me in there. Let me wait around in it for a bit.
Yeah, and it's making me appreciate the game more as well because it is using so much stuff out of the video game, locations, the tech, say side characters that it's. I was like, oh yeah, that world holds up to taking it and doing an entirely different thing with it, and yet it's still being recognizable as the world you played in the video game. Now, I've obviously had the benefit of waiting till that video game was patched incredibly heavily and playing on PS5.
Yes.
So it's functional, yeah.
Yes, so it is for the most part functional, except for the occasional glitches where NPCs decide the best place for them to sit would be in the middle of the road. But that's about as bad as it's been.
I mean, like that might be a feature, not a bug. It's just like,
Well,
oh, that's that man glitching out.
Cyber Psycho.
I had worse problems with Mafia 2 than I did Cyberpunk.
That has no excuses. That you can't even hack anyone's brain in Mafia 2. Yeah.
Like
depending on there's like a couple of more just to go like just yet, so it could still flush it for all we know. But it's just going on current form because why that the video game, which kind of restarted again this whole interest in the franchise, will probably be the second best thing to come out of it.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping that people come to this from liking the video game or liking Cyberpunk stuff in general, and then see the studio and it's like, hey, these guys are really good. Have they done anything else that looks good? And it's like, yes, and then they'll.
Yeah, well, the things they've made are counted among some of the more favorite like anime students have.
But
like,
people outside of anime who wouldn't know where to start. It's just like, these guys are good. Start with these guys. You'll find some fun stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what Netflix recommends for you if you like to kill. If you like,
they should have Gurren Lagann on there.
Obviously they've got BNA and they've got Little Witch Academia.
Yeah, that'll be the first port of calls probably.
Cyberpunk, Edgerunners. What other things does it bring up when you search for that? Well, just Drifting Home, Dogs in Space, Altered Carbon Re-Sleeved. That one makes a bit.
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, I should check if my friends who were trying to convince me to watch that have watched Cyberpunk Edgerunners yet.
There's a good version of that.
Uncle from Another World and Bastard. So I don't know what's influencing those metrics.
Anime. It's an anime. Yeah.
Cyber Metalers. I suppose it's because it's like technically a far future post-apocalyptic tale as well.
Yeah.
But Cyberpunk is more like during apocalypse, really. But, yeah.
And Uncle from Another Dimension is the apocalypse of Sega has already died.
That's true. Yes,
they both involve video games.
Yeah,
that's true. Of course, the thing I spotted coming next week? I think is Captain Tsubasa apparently is coming to UK Netflix.
yeah.
Oh, geez. Okay.
And not the new one. I don't think. By looks of things, it's the original one.
Yeah.
To compete, maybe.
It's because it's World Cup year.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah.
Now, if it shows up with just only a Spanish dub, all the
Spanish,
all the bit. I was going to go into talk about. Well, there's a whole bunch of BRB International compilation movies put up on there. And they've only got the Spanish dub, even though in many cases there is an English dub for them. But, and the English dub is there to view for free on YouTube for many of them. It's a little odd. I suspect it's just a quirk of contracting.
Yeah, probably
would be my guess. But yes, if you want to see what David the Gnome sounds like in Spanish, head over to Netflix and find out.
Yes.
In the meantime, we will find out who did it in Fuuto PI episode 9, The Closed K, The Ultimate Two Halves of One.
The only anime that came out this week that we watched.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah, definitely didn't watch anything else.
Mm-hmm.
It looks fine.
Nope. Nope. And definitely the only tokusatsu adjacent thing I watched this week. Yeah.
Yeah. So who did it? Well, it was the granny. The granny did it.
Yeah, it was really better. There might be a couple of things, but the butler was in on it.
Yes.
Anything that can't be accounted for by the granny doing it, the butler did. So easy.
Yeah, so apparently she was all tied in with the plot of the original TV show. She was friends of the family. Even Philip had been there as a kid.
And she'd been using her evil powers to turn into an alcohol demon monster person to support her grandson since his parents died in a tragic accident.
And
it was out of love that she killed all those people.
Because she's a high dope, which is the technical term for people who are especially bonded to their Gaia memories. She has powers she can use even before she's turned into a dopant.
She has telekinesis. She has a little gun to stamp a USB port in your forehead to see if you're compatible. That's
I think that was from the show.
That's probably where she got it then. Yeah.
So she's a tough fight, which means they're going to have to use another power up.
Another transformation. This is the last and final best one. Even the villain in the shadows, watching this one, says, this is the top best transformation. No other ones after this one I've heard so much about.
I want there to be another transformation where it's those two guys combining fully to be one guy riding on the guy who is a motorbike with another guy riding a sidecar that is also a guy attached to the motorbike. That's the ultimate form I want.
Just go full grid man on it. Just sticking things on.
It's probably too far though, but yeah.
A bunch of men hanging off each other. It's like a human pyramid.
I can't remember what this form's called that they use.
Oh, it's
W something, W extreme, W ultimate, dub ultimate.
God, they use a bunch of puns when they say it as well. It's not X, I think.
They use the extreme. Yeah, they use the prism.
It is extreme. Okay.
Okay, you're right.
Prism bicker they use, which is like this sword / shield. So they put one. It's like one of those, and then three of the other ones is slammed into the prism bicker.
And it's like I guess it's like a shield that is also the scabbard for the sword. Depending on what ones you plug into it, it gives the sword different powers.
Yeah, I think normally in the TV show they did it the other way to how they did it here. I think, or maybe So Cyclone Extreme Lunar, Joker Extreme Metal Trigger. Yeah. Axel just uses trial still. It's like they fight the granny and then they're like, but you're an old lady. We're not going to kill you. We defeated you.
I kicked you with the minimum amount of force.
Yes. You might be evil, but you're still an old lady. Then she goes and sets the entire building on fire.
I've set the building to explode in fire if I ever get defeated. So mind my grandson as I telekinetically launch him out this hole in the wall I just made. That and your secretary. So yeah.
Yeah, and then we get in the second half. We've got the fight between Scream and Ryu.
I did like her thing of I want to take a selfie next to your mutilated corpse, and her kind of going through her phone to show him the previous murders selfie she's done, and he's like, "Oh my god, that's horrible."
With filters.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
It's Kamen Rider Doubles Cyclone Joker Extreme form is the full name. So how does that fight end? Do they just back off and when the other lads
back off because it's like no, come back now. We've done what we've been doing. Oh yeah, we're the other villains. You might have heard about this. Check it out. We got belts just like yours. We're not dopes. We're smart people. So.
And what was his Brachiosaurus? Yeah, yes. Was a fucking huge guy.
It's not even the Brachiosaurus. They're like, holy shit, a Brachiosaurus. Look, on his head, a guy. It's that guy from the mansion. And he's like, yeah, I'm actually going to reveal my identity here and now. So, no two ways about it.
And Tokyo is like this instinctually, primarily afraid of this dude.
Yeah, she
Yes.
also recognized the granny's like, "What's the word for the thing that I am?" And she's like, "High dope." And it's like, "That's the thanks. The memory's going in my old age. You know how it is." So she knows stuff she shouldn't. Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and also when you see them in daylight next to each other, you realise they've got the same colour hair. So
Yeah. So it was good to kind of keep them apart, except like this is the only time they've been in the same scene under the same lighting. Yeah.
And then
Well,
just like
the rainbow braid is very
Yes.
distracting.
It is that as well.
You
yes.
focus in on that. But then, wait a minute. Let's not forget, we've been fooled before. Anime characters can dye their hair if they want to.
Or get a haircut even. It's mad.
Yeah, that's fun. That's so many fucking things. So many kind of like mystery ones where everyone, I think everyone's saying, "Oh yeah, like we fucking, you could also just dye your hair."
And then, just like the previous two arcs, they then spend about 5 minutes or so picking over the remains of the story, cleaning up any plot holes, saying goodbye to the guys who survived.
I did appreciate them going, "It's like, don't worry, the thing was making you want to murder people. You're not actually a murderer." And I was like, okay, that's why you get away with trying to murder someone as a dope
also,
thing.
they never did it. Neither of the two people who
didn't.
survived didn't do any
Those
murder.
were all
And neither
alcohol poisoning.
neither did the two people who died. They didn't murder anybody either. One of them
There
just
were a series of accidents.
Yes. Yeah. One of them put the corpse of one of them on a attached it to a tree. Yes, but didn't actually kill them themselves.
That's desecrating a corpse, but I mean, like that's not a real crime.
She just needs that blubber. She's going.
And even like the old the manager, she's like, "What the fuck? We didn't even get paid to do this." And the guy's like, "Don't worry, I'm gonna." And it's like, so they get paid and everything eventually.
That's pretty hard boiled of you.
Everything works out. It's very nice. The super happy ending, considering how many people died.
Oh, there's the punchline there, of course, is that he's a teetotaler. So they never needed to have suspected him in the first place.
Yeah, that would have saved us a lot of fucking time. He was just drinking like oolong tea with like the little circular ice thing to make himself look real cool.
It's nice. But you want to feel like left out, you know. That's why they have like the alcohol-free beers, you know, because it's a social like armor. All right, I'm very shy actually, and it's all on, you know, I'm an opposing rich dude.
And as we learned from the chibi ending, the one with the highest alcohol tolerance is, drum roll, it's the butler. The butler has the highest alcohol tolerance.
Yeah, I think
the things it had to do. Yeah,
they would just see the butler like driving away from the entire crime scene at some point as well.
I think he does get away. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably involved in a lot of murders, and he's I think he's.
I never thought I'd have to do this again.
And the very last thing we see is the shadow Fuuto. We see the villains in their human form, but there's one extra, the one who didn't attack them. There is a small child in his little Lord Fauntleroy outfit. And we see the human form of the Brachiosaur, who reminds me of. He hasn't got the horn hair, but the barman who's actually CP9 in Water 7.
Bloomo or something.
Yes.
Yeah. And Squarehead, yeah.
Yeah, and then and Screams in a very frilly Lolita Gothic outfit.
Yeah.
As a contrast.
Yeah. And also assuming that this is somehow still 2012. It was only like 1 year after the original show. Yeah, it was a lot of good fun. It's obviously the wrap up of the mystery was very quick, but I liked the mystery in the previous two episodes, and these were a couple of fun fights. And yeah, as I assume that there'll be an unseen anime exclusive or manga exclusive power up in the next arc. Just to give you an extra reason to buy or tune in, depending on what you've got. I don't know how many volumes there are of the original comic. Is it still
I saw as well.
Running?
This show is getting adapted into a stage play, is it?
Is it this or is it the double?
I saw the two guys like a live action.
Yes, there is a stage play version of it coming. Yes.
Yeah.
As most of them get these days.
No, but just like the adaptation of the adaptation of the adaptation.
Yeah, I guess
of the stage play. Yeah.
I guess you do a stage play adaptation of this because otherwise the stage play adaptation of Kamen Rider Double is just those kids shows they would have put on at the time, where
Like the stage shows.
people in
Yeah.
slightly cheaper versions of the suits would run around and fake fight for 6-year-olds.
Fuuto PI in Agatha Christie's Murder on the Tokyo Loop Line.
Yeah, Fuuto PI, the stage.
Okay.
Okay, righty-ho. That debuts in December this year. You're in Japan. And that's it for this week. Next week, this is currently on the docket, and Niall may want to add more. And
yeah, it's
JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
That's a lot.
We've got Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai.
Finally.
Spy Family returns. Pop Team Epic returns.
Grandfathered in.
Fuuto PI continues.
Yeah.
Golden Kamui returns. Mob Psycho 100 returns. I know Niles watched the Gundam. I've not watched the Gundam because I was like, if I watch the Gundam, I'm going to want to watch the Gundam, and I don't have time to watch the Gundam.
I like what to do because they're fucking very just brazenly taking the premise of another anime that I also enjoy very much, and just put robots in it. It says, yeah, you've done it. You've done it like almost so many things like this, just down to like details I never thought would come up on this. But yeah, you've fucking gone right for it. So
that is very tempting because, like you say, it sounds like exactly the kind of stuff that you want to watch. But do we have time to watch it?
I want to watch it because
you watch it anyway.
Joyce, do not feel like you have to fucking follow suit unless you're also maniacs.
No, I'm not. I am a maniac, but I'm leaving some of my mania empty so I can fill it the following week.
Dear.
Yeah, I don't. We're gonna put Tiger and Bunny on the back burner, so we don't have to listen to that.
Hopefully, a lull will happen again, and when there's like, "Hey, do you want to do fucking 15 episodes of Tiger and Bunny?" He's like, "Yeah, let's go for it."
I think I think Fuuto PI has me set for fucking
Bunny
costumes,
comedy,
punching terrors up and topping mysteries. I think at least very least until we get clear of Fuuto PI, I'd leave Tiger and Bunny.
Yeah, that's fair.
The good news is, that we've got Dragon Quest the end is in sight on Dragon Quest. The end is in sight on.
The end is in sight. I don't want it to end.
Yeah, see, that's the thing as well. It's just like I got too many things to watch, but I would like to keep watching. What am I going to watch on the weekends anymore?
Real separation anxiety, even that one now.
You can start again on the BBC iPlayer and watch the dub version of it.
Yeah.
That's what the BBC do now. Is they get the rights for anime, so they've got things to put on iPlayer.
That's a good pick.
It is. Well, I assume Dragon Ball Super was doing well enough for them that Dragon Quest was a good idea as well. But the following week, this is where the problem comes. If one did watch that Gundam, following week we've got a Rubicon.
Yeah,
we've got Chainsaw Man. I don't know if Poo Poo Market actually starts next week or this week, but we can for sure watch it next week.
Yeah.
No, that's one too many. Off that goes.
Like I'm kind of like it's the weird situation where it might look great and everything, but I'm kind of hoping I don't want to watch Chainsaw Man because I really like the comic and I've got too many other things to watch. It's a weird problem. Yeah,
it's like I might like watching that Bleach. I mean, it'll be very easy to watch because it will probably throw itself face first towards me as I put Disney Plus on, and I'll be going Bleach. Where do you know about the whereabouts of Tatami Time Machine Blues?
We keep getting emails from this dude. He won't stop.
There's Blue Lock, which has a bonkers premise, and I'd be interested in seeing that. There's the new Eurosite Sura, which I'm definitely going to watch the first episode of. And if it's the format I think it's going to be, which is probably going to be as getting through stories as quickly as possible. At least that seems to be. Rumiko Takahashi herself was describing the new series as being very fast-paced, so I hope she is correct. because I think that's the way they can differentiate themselves, or at least avoid the problems which would come from trying to stretch out a single chapter to a full episode. Which I
Hmm.
don't think they're going to do, because it's running for like 40 something episodes and there's 200 or so
Yeah.
chapters. So I think they're supposed to be like picking the best chapters to do as well. Just
Yeah.
haven't
Will it be Vampire Dies in No Time, 3 tight bits?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that would be my ideal. Well, no, my ideal would be 5 tight bits, but 3 tight bits will be pretty good.
Yeah, because I mean, like with the 3 in Vampire, like if it had one weak one, the other 2 would generally make up for it, and you wouldn't even remember the bad shit. So
They also know as well how to carry their like rubber band those were fun. We might go a
Yes.
little longer on this one, but it's one. The last one will be is fucking this really like
Yeah.
really probably really stupid thing to leave you off on, but it
Mm.
would amuse you enough that you wouldn't mind.
It'd leave a good aftertaste of comedy. Yeah, yeah.
Have they announced Ten's voice actor yet?
I thought I saw it the other day. Yeah.
It was not there on the site when I looked. They're gradually putting additional characters on the character list on the official website. Story characters. So where are they up to now?
Up to the parents, I think.
Yes, the parents. Yeah, they just put the parents up. Okay, so I suspect Ted will be the last one.
One you've all been waiting for.
Yes, 10. So who's voicing Mr. Moroboshi? Oh, and that sent me back to Ataru. I want to know who's voicing Ataru. I know who's.
Toshio Furukawa.
Yes.
He's just like, oh
so-
no.
And is Fumi Harane's playing Lum's mum? Yeah, there we go. So that's what people suspected, which adds to my suspicion that because she was still doing Ten's voice last year for Monster Strike, that they might have delayed. Fingers crossed they've delayed it because it's going to be the self-same actress who voiced Ten originally. Because that would be like the only person doing the same voice. And why not? You're in your 70s, you can still play a toddler because you weren't a toddler when you were voicing the toddler in the first place. But yeah, I need to know who's playing that little shit because he's such an essential part of the show. I'm trying to think, is there anybody else? Because Onsen Mark was the other one I was waiting for. They announced that. They've got the baseball loving other rich kid and his sister. I guess they might announce them as well. Because he's in the post. Oh, they haven't announced Ryu and Ryu's dad yet either. So it might be a while before Ted's announced then. There's still loads more characters
Jeez.
everybody loves to announce.
They'll just like keep like all the chapters, just like pick all the ones right now. They won at the very end.
Yeah, because the people on the poster they've not put up yet are 10, Ryu's dad, and I can never remember his name. It's the other rich kid, Mendo's rival, who is designed like a 1970s baseball manga character. He's got very starry eyes. I think probably Star of the Giants is specifically the thing he's a parody of. I guess they might put his sister. The sister's she's afraid of boys and wears a suit of armor all the time to protect her from boys. Mendo's mum, that's another character who they might want to announce who's there. That's another recurring. It's just really weird that they announced Sakura's boyfriend before they've announced 10, because who gives a fuck about Sakura's boyfriend? He barely shows up. The gimmick is, he's into Western magic, she's into Eastern magic. What a crazy couple.
And Trotsky of the anime age.
Yes. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad that the suspected voices for Lum's mum and Ataru's dad were exactly who everyone suspected them as.
You're answer about a new class.
Yes, just come back, voice the parent of the character you played before. Not that either of them have much to do. Lum's mum barely shows up, and I think, does she talk gobbledygook? If I remember correctly, I think she can't talk Japanese, unlike her husband.
Okay. She just walked. She's from out west. No matter.
and Tara's dad's main job is to hide behind his newspaper when the mum is going on her rants about how she wished she'd never had him. Because they're terrible parents. That's the best thing about your Sarah, is everybody's horrible.
Yeah, they'd be about nothing.
Yes, quite. Yeah. It's about alien invasion. Oh, and also not next week, but the week after, another Conan arc starts as well.
Oh, jeez, yeah, fuck. I have to keep an eye out for that one.
Talking of people who used to be in Neuroscience, Sarah. Righty-ho, that's it for this week. Relatively quick, because we only had 6 shows. The thing we're attempting to do every week, and frequently failing. We'll be back with more Let's Go JoJo next week. Goodbye.
Bye.